My friends, we all know what it feels like to be lost, to stand at a crossroads, unsure of which way to go. We make plans, we set our goals, we map out our future, and then life happens. The road we thought was straight takes a sudden turn. The doors we were so sure would open remain shut, and the dreams we carefully built crumble like sandcastles against the tide. And what do? We despair. We question. We shake our fists at the sky and ask, why? Why is this happening to me? But let me ask you this. Have you ever read a story where the hero never faced a challenge? Have you ever watched a great adventure unfold without unexpected twists? If life were merely a straight line from birth to success, it would not be a journey, it would be a checklist. And we were not made for checklist. We were made for purpose. You see, we are not the authors of our own stories. We may think we are, scribbling out our plans in ink. But there is a far greater writer at work, one who knows the ending before the first page is even turned. And sometimes, when we are too fixated on our own drafts, he takes the pen from our hands. Not to ruin our plans, but to rewrite them into something far greater than we ever imagined. Think of the moments in your life that seemed like failures at the time. The job that slipped through your fingers, the opportunity that vanished before your eyes, the relationship that you thought would last forever, but didn't. Now, look back with the eyes of hindsight. Can you see now how those closed doors led you to something better? Can you see how every detour brought you to exactly where you needed to be? It is a terrifying thing to lose control. But perhaps that is precisely the point. We were never meant to have it. We were never meant to chart our own course without guidance. And when God rewrites our path, He is not making a mistake. He is rescuing us from the mistakes we would have made on our own. So, if you find yourself today standing at an unexpected fork in the road, if the life you planned seems to be slipping through your fingers, do not despair. The story is not over. The author is still writing. And I promise you this, when you finally see the full picture, you will not wish for the old version of your story back. You will stand in awe of what was being written all along. Trust the pen in His hands. Trust the story He is writing. For in His book, no chapter is wasted and no ending is left unfinished. Life's detours are not accidents. At first, this idea might seem difficult to accept, especially when we are in the middle of disappointment, heartbreak, or unexpected change. We like to believe that life follows a straight line, that hard work leads directly to success, that love leads directly to happiness, and that faith ensures a life without obstacles. But reality has a different rhythm. The road we take is rarely the road we planned, and when we find ourselves off course, we often assume something has gone terribly wrong. Yet if we step back and look at these moments with a different perspective, we may find that the things we saw as detours were, in fact, the very roads we were meant to travel all along. We have all faced moments where life takes an unexpected turn. Perhaps you have worked tirelessly toward a goal, investing time, energy, and even your heart, only to watch it slip away. Maybe you had a vision for your future, one that seemed so clear, so certain, only to wake up one day and realize that nothing is going according to plan. In these moments, frustration sets in, doubt creeps into our minds, and we ask the questions that have echoed through human history. Why did this happen? Where did I go wrong? And perhaps the hardest question of all, why would God allow this? The answer is not always visible in the moment. When we are standing in the middle of uncertainty, all we see is confusion. We see the road that has been blocked, not the new one that is opening before us. We see the loss, not the hidden gift buried within it. But if we look at the pattern of life, if we examine the stories of those who have come before us, we begin to see a recurring truth. Some of the greatest blessings, the most profound transformations come not from the plans that went right, but from the ones that went wrong. Consider the stories of those who have left an impact on the world. How many of them followed a straight path to success? How many of them accomplished what they were meant to do without first encountering roadblocks, failures, or redirections? The greatest musicians, writers, scientists, and leaders often found their purpose not in the success they expected, but in the failure that forced them onto an unexpected road. The invention of the light bulb came after thousands of failed attempts. Some of the greatest works of literature were born from personal tragedy. People who changed history often found their calling not because they achieved their original plans, but because those plans were interrupted, forcing them to see a new way forward. This truth applies not only to historical figures but to our own lives as well. How many times have we looked back on a moment of disappointment only to later realize that it was a disguised blessing? The job that wasn't offered, the relationship that ended, the dream that didn't materialize. At the time, these seemed like losses, but with time, we often see them as turning points. We recognize that if we had received exactly what we wanted, we would have missed out on something greater. If one door hadn't closed, we would never have discovered the better one that opened in its place. This is not to say that life's detours are easy. They often come with pain, with struggle, with the deep sense of having lost something important. But just because a path is difficult does not mean it is the wrong one. Sometimes the hardest roads lead to the most beautiful destinations. When we embrace the idea that detours are not accidents, we begin to view life differently. We stop fighting against every unexpected change, and instead, we start looking for what might be unfolding. Faith plays a crucial role in this understanding. If we believe that life is a series of random events, then every detour feels like chaos. Every disappointment feels like a cruel joke. But if we believe that there is a greater design, that we are being guided even when we cannot see the way, then these moments take on a different meaning. They become part of a story that is still being written, a story that is leading us somewhere we cannot yet see. Trusting this process requires patience. It requires the willingness to let go of our own rigid expectations and to be open to the unexpected. It requires us to walk forward even when we do not understand, even when the road ahead is unclear. And in time, it allows us to look back and see that what felt like a detour was, in fact, the exact road we needed to take. A character in a book does not know what lies ahead. They live moment by moment, experiencing the story as it unfolds, reacting to the challenges, joys, and unexpected twists that come their way. They do not know the ending. They do not see the full arc of their journey. They can only trust that the story is leading somewhere. But the author, the one who crafted the narrative, who knows every detail, every plot twist, and every resolution, sees the full picture. The author knows how each chapter fits into the grand design of the story, even when the character is lost, confused, or suffering. In the same way, we often live as if we are characters lost in our own story, unsure of why things are happening the way they are. We experience life moment by moment, reacting to our struggles, disappointments, and triumphs without understanding where they are leading. We question why certain things happen, why certain doors close, why pain enters our lives, when we had envisioned something different. But what if we are not the ones writing the story? What if there is a greater author, one who sees the full picture, one who understands how every event in our lives is leading us towards something far greater than we can imagine? Imagine a character in a novel who desires nothing more than comfort and security. They might resist the challenges placed in their path. They might question why they are being forced to struggle. But the author knows that without struggle, there is no growth. Without obstacles, there is no transformation. A hero is not made through ease but through adversity. The author understands that the character must go through trials to become who they were meant to be. In the moment, the character may see only suffering, but the author sees purpose. This is true of our lives as well. We may think we know what is best for us, but our vision is limited. We see only what is directly in front of us, while the author sees the entire story. What we perceive as setbacks or failures are often necessary turning points that lead us to something greater. When we face disappointment, we assume that we have lost our way. But what if, instead of being lost, we are simply being redirected? What if the very thing we mourn as a loss is, in reality, a crucial step in a journey we cannot yet comprehend? Trusting the author of our story requires humility. It requires accepting that we do not know everything, that our understanding is incomplete. It is natural to want control, to want certainty, to want to see the full map before taking a single step. But faith does not work that way. Faith is trusting that the story is being written with intention, even when we do not understand the plot. It is believing that the author's plan is not just good, but far better than anything we could have written for ourselves. Think of a time in your life when you wanted something desperately, only to have it slip away. At the time, it may have felt like the end of the world. You may have thought that nothing good could come from it. But looking back, how often have you realized that what you thought was a loss was actually a blessing in disguise? How many times has a painful ending led to a new beginning that you never would have chosen on your own, yet turned out to be exactly what you needed? The author knew the story better than you did. This is not to say that life is free of pain or that every hardship has an immediately visible purpose. There are moments of suffering that feel unbearable, moments of grief that cannot be explained away with simple words. But even in the darkest chapters, the story is not over. A book with only happy moments is not a compelling story. It is the struggle, the redemption, the transformation that gives a story depth and meaning. And if we could see the ending from the beginning, we would understand why every chapter mattered. When we embrace the truth that the author knows the story better than the character, we learn to trust in the unfolding. We stop trying to force our own version of the narrative and instead surrender to the one that is being written for us. We begin to live with the confidence that even when we do not understand, even when the path is unclear, the story is leading somewhere beautiful. And one day when we look back, we will see that every twist, every turn, and every unexpected change was always part of something far greater than we ever imagined. We spend much of our lives focused on the destination. From the time we are young, we are taught to set goals, make plans, and work tirelessly toward an outcome we believe will bring us fulfillment. We measure our progress by how close we are to achieving the things we desire, whether it be a career, a relationship, financial success, or personal growth. The destination becomes our driving force, and anything that seems to delay or disrupt our journey feels like an obstacle. When life does not go according to plan, we feel frustrated, confused, and even defeated. But what if the redirections we experience are not roadblocks but divine interventions? What if the detours are not accidents but intentional shifts leading us to something far greater than we imagined? There is a tendency to resist change, especially when it takes us away from what we thought was certain. We assume that if we have set a goal and worked hard for it, the path should be clear. But life is not a straight road, and very rarely do things unfold exactly as we expect. There are moments when we find ourselves at a crossroads, forced to take a path we never would have chosen on our own. In those moments, we can either resist and cling to what was, or we can trust that the redirection is part of a greater plan. It is difficult to trust a path we cannot see. We like to know what is ahead, to have certainty before taking the next step. But trust is not about seeing the entire journey. It is about believing that even the unexpected turns are leading somewhere meaningful. Often, the places we never planned to go become the places where we grow the most. The doors that close push us toward new opportunities that we never would have pursued otherwise. The relationships that end make room for deeper, more meaningful connections. The failures that humble us prepare us for successes that are built on wisdom and resilience. There is a pattern in life that only becomes clear in hindsight. Think back to a time when something didn't go the way you expected. In the moment, it may have felt like a setback. You may have questioned why things were happening the way they were. But looking back now, can you see how that redirection shaped you? Can you see how it led to opportunities or experiences that changed your life in ways you never could have planned? What once seemed like a disappointment may now be seen as a turning point. This is the beauty of redirection. It often feels like loss in the moment, but with time, it reveals itself as a gift. Trusting in redirection means letting go of our need for complete control. It means surrendering our plans and being open to the possibility that there is something better waiting for us. It does not mean we should stop setting goals or working toward our dreams, but it does mean that when life takes an unexpected turn, we do not despair. Instead, we choose to believe that even the detours are part of the journey. We choose to embrace uncertainty, knowing that every redirection has the potential to lead us to something greater than we ever imagined. There will be moments when redirection feels painful, when we cannot see any possible good in the change we are experiencing. In those moments, it is easy to become discouraged, to feel as though we have lost our way. But just because we cannot see the purpose in the moment does not mean there is no purpose at all. The most powerful stories are the ones that take unexpected turns. The greatest transformations come not from reaching a destination, but from the journey itself. When we learn to trust in the redirection and not just the destination, we begin to live with greater peace, greater faith, and a deeper sense of purpose. We stop resisting change and start embracing the idea that life's unexpected turns are not mistakes, but divine guidance, leading us exactly where we need to be.